Hey, so you know those old video game characters that almost everyone universally hates for some reason, like Navi or the Rabbids? A lot of people have always hated these guys for a long ass time, and that got me thinking, is all of that hate really warranted? I say millennials have tricked you, gaslit you even, into hating these funny, scrunkly fellows. So why don't we take a look at these oppressed video game characters, why they were hated by so many people in the past, and why you might want to consider giving them a second chance. Oh, and Mel's here too, I guess.
Yeah! Ah, fuck!
One of history's most obvious choices has gotta be Navi the Fairy from The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Despite being such a beloved classic game, it sure is full of little guys that people can't freaking stand.
eBay.
Ocarina came out at a time when 3D gaming was still a rather new and novel concept, so the devs of the game knew that including a character that could tag along with Link and exposit tutorial information at any time would be a more natural way to give players an advantage and lower frustration as well. Once folks got more used to adventuring in 3D and constant tutorials became less necessary, folks quickly grew tired of this poor little fairy. Her infamous constant spouting of, "Hey, listen!" became a huge internet meme that people still reference to this day. She's the first of way too many characters you'll see on this list that have lots and lots of art depicting them being brutally murdered in some shape or form, all created by completely mentally stable individuals, I'm sure. While sure, the constant begging for your attention can potentially be a little grating, and the offering of constant help can maybe come off as a little insulting to a more experienced player, at the end of the day, as a character, she's just a cute little fairy gal. What is there really to hate? She serves a purpose, she's there to help you, and 9 times out of 10, you can completely ignore her, and at that point, she's just an adorable little ball who flies around Link. Personally, I think Navi deserves more love and respect from the gamers she was always trying to help. And please, let's just be honest here. You did not even remember or acknowledge Navi's existence during the majority of the game. Do not lie to me and say that she was pissing you off from beginning to end. There's no way that you didn't just forget about her. I know you tuned her out. Everyone did. Hey, by the way, shout out to B Kirby on Twitter for giving me the idea for this video in the first place.
Keeping it to older games but going back a bit, someone I always saw hate for as a kid was this dog, the Duck Hunt dog. I don't need to tell you 30 minutes of lore on where he came from, you know the origins of this scoundrel. Duck Hunt came with a light gun, which worked by turning the screen on your old CRT black for a frame. Targets would be represented with white boxes, and should your light gun sense the white, it knew you hit a target. Modern TVs don't have the same resolution or hertz, so that's why this game doesn't work on anything but a big toe smasher. You shoot a duck with a gun on your NES, and if you hit it, he snags it. If you miss, he laughs at you. People hated this thing because of that laugh. Though the game always gave you an easy way to get some revenge on what is presumably your own hunting dog. You can shoot the innocent man and steal his life away. He'll always come back, but that's besides the point. Don't trust a Duck Hunt fan if you care about the safety of your pets.
How did Duck Hunt work?
Death threat.
They'll shoot your cat if it yawns funny. I get the disdain for the Duck Hunt dog, but in all fairness, you missed the shot on the duck, so you deserve to be mocked and humiliated. This is your fault. He's here as your dog to help you with your duck murdering. Don't want a dog that'll laugh at your mistakes? Shouldn't have adopted him then.
Well said, Mel. Dog haters aren't allowed on this channel, and not only that, they will be executed. Bringing things back to Zelda, some elite, old-school gamers had a bizarre burning hatred for the traveling map salesman, Tingle. He's this old-ass man who... He's 35. That's only like 5 years away from me, fuck. He wears a funny little elf costume. Yeah, he's a little weird, a little odd. He can get himself into some situations that can confuse the player. The Tingles get a little quirky at night. But that really is just part of the fun. Whether you like it or not, he's here, he's queer. Oh. So that's why some American gamers hated him so much. Oh, what fun. Homophobia! So Tingle isn't like outwardly gay or anything, but something about his outfit and demeanor certainly gives off some vibes of someone who might be, you know, a little saucy. But who cares? He fucking slays. The most infamous example of this would have to be IGN's embarrassing Die Tingle Die article, where they insist that everyone should hate this dude with every fiber of their being for being a little different, a little fruity, as if there's anything wrong with that. You aren't disturbing, or a lunatic, or deformed for being you. And you certainly don't deserve to have your head exploded like in this gif, goddamn! And neither does Tingle! Gamers back then really let outlets like IGN and ScrewAttack gaslight them hard when it comes to this poor guy. It also doesn't help that Wind Waker was not well received at the time due to its cartoony art style, and Tingle was heavily featured in that game. Gamers didn't want this gay Tumblr sh**. They wanted to shoot, they wanted to guns, and they demanded the most realistic pubic hair graphics.
You know what else came on this cartridge? Super Mario Bros. A classic game, one of the most impactful experiences of all time. Some would even say it's so retro. You beat 4 whole levels, battle it out with the antagonist of the game, and you're ready to save the princess. Oh boy, I can't wait to see the baddest bitch in all of the Mushroom Kingdom. To be fair, he still works for me. Toad is an odd one to hate so much. Perhaps it is the repetitiveness that got on the nerves of early internet age gamers, having to deal with this guy 7 times in a standard playthrough. He's always telling you one simple thing: the princess is in another castle. The woman you seek was never here and is rather in a different part of the world. From the perspective of Mario, you essentially just wasted your time to save Toad when you were either looking for glory or pussy, not a mushroom man. Why was Bowser even here? He's not even defending the castle with a princess in it. He's just here. Toad was kidnapped too. Why would you be mad at him for simply saying, "Thanks for saving me. By the way, Peach isn't here"? I think it's crazy that this is the only game I've ever seen any hate for Toad in. No one complains about Toad in Mario Kart, Toad in Mario 64, or Toad in Wario's Woods. No one has ever cared to hate any Toad other than this one, and it's the only one who's an actual victim of a real-world crime.
Believe it or not, in the Mario franchise, it isn't just Toad who's been the brunt of gamers' burning rage in the past. It may be weird to think about, but even Luigi, Mario's darling brother, has been accused of being too pussy and cowardly, even when starring in his own games. I guess some people were just too insecure about themselves to support a king who fights through his fears and insecurities to save the day. King Boob would still have Mario trapped in that painting if it weren't for Luigi. That, and they were upset over the lack of a mainline Mario title at the launch of the GameCube. Personally, I think Luigi is an amazing brother for Mario, and he brings lots of personality to the table. When gamers got to the end of Super Mario Land and reached the end game, they're like, "What the frick? This isn't Peach. Who's this Daisy bitch?" That unfortunately gave her a bad starting point in the eyes of some gamers, considering sometimes she was seen as a pointless second fiddle to Peach. Some also found her voice annoying, or blame her for not appearing in enough games, as if that's her fault. She's not, and she's a queen. Deal with it. Then there's Waluigi. And yes, he was created pretty much just so Wario could have a partner to play with in sports titles, but have you not seen this man? He's sexy as hell! And look at those shoes! Fun gamer fact you probably didn't know, number 36, he could easily reach the top shelf at the grocery store, and he would grab you that box of cereal because he is just such a cool guy. He's more than just a Smash meme. He's a man with a beautiful heart, and he loves you.
Hey, fun gamer fact you probably didn't know, number 37. Did you know that Super Mario Bros. 2 here in North America was actually a game called Doki Doki Panic reskinned with Mario characters?
What?
As it was thought that the actual Super Mario Bros. 2 was too difficult for us babies in the States.
Huh? What the fuck? I didn't know that!
What they got as Super Mario Bros. 2 is what we later got as the Lost Levels, which sucks.
Oh shit! I should like and subscribe for learning something I didn't know!
Our Super Mario Bros. 2 has yet another funny friend that everyone hated. Some still hate in modern day, as shown by this inactive Twitter account and also this inactive Twitter account. I like Birdo haters' last tweet especially. Birdo is one of the most divisive characters in all of gaming. People think she's ugly, what with her big mouth hole and odd voice. Believe me, if I wasn't interested in bad bitches, I'd be saying the same damn thing. A lot of people back in the day referred to her as confusing and creepy. The greatest YouTube show of all time, ScrewAttack, referred to her as a, quote, retarded anteater in their video of the top 10 ugly chicks in gaming.
Birdo looks like a freaking retarded anteater.
which is a worthwhile watch. It'll help you realize that you can't take someone's opinion seriously when their thoughts on 9 other women are just bad. I can't jerk off to this character, that means she's ugly.
Gee, I sure did learn lots about the joys of Birdo porn. I should like and subscribe.
Her design is odd, sure, but a lot of the hate comes more from the fact that she's trans.
What the heck is she?
I'm not 100% on this, but I think that thing may have been a dude at one point.
I did not need to know that, Mario. Birdo is a character whose existence I just don't understand, and it just downright disturbs me.
We all know how this went. In the manual for Super Mario Bros. 2, she was described as believing she was a woman. Mario Kart Double Dash's original website states, quote, Yoshi's girlfriend looks like he's actually his boyfriend? And of course, every time a PAL version comes out, the British folks need to remind us that they don't believe that she's a woman. I think all of her hate comes down to her not being a conventional baddie, and also the whole gender thing. If it wasn't for the manual in Mario 2, she'd be hated for being weird and not for the fact that she's trans.
While Birdo really doesn't have a valid reason to receive all that hate, technically, Bowser Jr. does. He's certainly a little shit, he can be whiny, and he's incredibly desperate to follow in his daddy's footsteps. I've seen some really intense hate for the little guy out there.
Fucking brat. Thanks for watching.
But I mean, he is literally a villain! He is designed to be hated and obnoxious to the player. That's his purpose, and he fulfills his destiny extremely well. Maybe too well for some, perhaps? Personally, I never found him so annoying as to get myself in a fit of rage over him. Sure, he's deceitful and causes problems for both Mario and his own father sometimes, but that really is just part of the fun. He's mischievous and loves being a diabolical little prick. And he's a more unpredictable force when compared to his father Bowser. Otherwise, I guess some folks hated the little fella for replacing Bowser's other smaller lizard-like companions. For a little while, he was accompanying Bowser by himself. No Koopalings in sight, but they've long since been back now, so does it really matter at this point? Did he replace the beloved Koopa Kid? I don't know. Who cares? He's here to stay. This little asshole child, in my opinion, is endearing and funny. Heading on back to the Nintendo 64 days, those who were lucky enough to enjoy the absolutely incredible Star Fox 64 only found one issue with it. Somebody within the Star Fox team itself. Folks love the fox, they love the bird, and they absolutely love the funny bunny who shouts out ancient memes. Unfortunately, a lot of people hated the poor frog. One of the goals in Star Fox stages is to keep your fellow pilots safe when they're getting chased down by enemies. And a lot of folks really hated that Slippy was always getting into trouble and needed help from the player to survive battles most of all.
He may be the character in video games that's been killed off most on purpose, simply because gamers have been tired of listening to him whine and asking you to save his ass.
But look, that literally isn't even a character flaw. Slippy is the least experienced fighter in the group, so the little guy might need some help now and then. You, the player, might be a little frustrated, but I'm sure Fox has some patience for Slippy. He's a stand-up guy. He's sexy and has a kind heart. Not to mention the extremely important fact that Slippy literally helped design the Star Fox team's gear, and he provides essential information that gives the team an advantage in combat. He's basically a super genius, so who cares if he's a little clumsy in the cockpit? He still gets the job done in the end. Sure, to be fair, his voice is a little shrill, but he's a funny little frog dude. It's fitting and it's fun. Leave my frog friend alone and stop going out of your way to shoot him down yourself like a fucking psychopath. Keeping things on N64 again, one of gaming's strangest hated characters has to be Oddjob from GoldenEye 007. Bro is from some old-ass Bond movie, I don't know, I've never even watched any of them, but this dude doesn't even appear in the game's main single-player campaign. So, on a literal level, in-game, he is never characterized in any way. There's literally nothing about him to hate, except, you're never going to believe this horrible detail, but he's short.
So,
yes, people hated this man with a burning passion simply because he is short. And that is absolutely hilarious. He was only included as a playable character in the multiplayer versus mode, the main issue being that his model is much shorter than that of any of the other characters, and especially with those archaic Nintendo 64 controllers, it was a pain in the ass to aim downward to shoot the motherfucker. Playing as Oddjob definitely did give players an unfair advantage.
Suck my dick! What the fuck? This game's bullshit!
So I can honestly understand the frustration if an opponent picks him. Oddjob is often banned from being used at all for this very reason. Still though, it has absolutely nothing to do with his actual character, and at the end of the day, he's just a short king that I know absolutely nothing about because I haven't watched the movie. I really need to watch more movies.
Who's that Pokemon?
To this day, I still see so much hate directed at some Pokemon that are undeserving of it. There's someone in this world who will look at a normal Pokemon that deserves no suffering, and they'll say that they want that damn ice cream cone melted with a goddamn flamethrower. God gives his silliest frozen treats his harshest critics. The most common hate is directed at real-life object-inspired Pokemon, as people deem them as lazy. Something like Vanillite, Trubbish, and Klefki are awful, foul, disgusting designs that people just can't stand. Ew, yuck, patooey, get that chandelier away from me. Oh, wait, people actually like that one. What a bunch of f***ing hypocrites. The other area of hated Pokemon comes down to encounter rates and frequencies. Think Zubat and Tentacool, the most common Pokemon in wild encounters in caves and water respectively. There are probably hundreds of thousands of old Newgrounds comics and animations and art all detailing how scary or annoying it is to go into Mount Moon without a repel because Big Bad Blind Bat is gonna leech life you. Ooh, scary! Tentacool is kind of the same thing, but for when you're on the high waters. There's also the general idea of an ugly Pokemon, but I always see that directed at stuff like the Gen 8 fossil Pokemon, Jinx, or all sorts of less than favorable designs. But hating Stunfisk is really weird when you don't include something like Chestnut in the same breath. There's so many Pokemon that are absolutely not bad, but people just see a dumb little plant and say it needs to be smashed into a fine green paste. Oh, also, when it comes to the Chestnut thing, I want to point out that if someone says that I'm saying Chestnut's bad, then they're proving my point. I like Chestnut and Stunfisk. I don't think their designs are too good, but I love Stunfisk. I like Stunfisk a lot more. But if they're saying, oh, so you're calling Chestnut ugly? It's like, no, I'm not. Chestnut's okay. You are the problem here. Anyway, something I noticed when looking up old articles about Pokemon that people don't like is just how much people disliked and still dislike the Pokemon of Gen 5. Sure, there's the trash bag and the ice cream cone, but Generation 5 holds a special place in people's hate boners. If you look up any article for the worst, ugliest, and most vile Pokemon from back then or even in modern day, there's a very strong chance that at least 25 to 50% of them will be from Generation 5. Take, for example, the elemental monkeys. They serve no harm. In fact, they do quite the opposite. They help you. You start out with a Pokemon that's weak against the first gym, so one of them swoops in to help you with an otherwise pretty difficult and unique battle for the Pokemon franchise. You get one for free, and they're pretty rare. Even if you never use it further on your team, it's a great addition for the early game. But so many people cannot stand them, even voting Simisear as the worst Pokemon of all time, lower than Bruxish? This all reminds me of the hate on baby monkey videos. I've seen so many people get so mad over these Pokemon and I don't get it. These are fine designs, but I think that it all stems from something deeper. There's still people out there who hate that Gen 5 was a soft reset for the franchise, meaning that no old Pokemon returned for the base game. What you see is what you get until the main story is over. People randomly include Woobat in their most hated Pokemon lists. I've seen it in more lists than Zubat. What did it do? It's not nearly as common as Zubat, and it's quite useful in game. It's been 13 years since these games came out, and people are still acting like 3-year-olds over Pikachu not being in the base game. It's the single best story in the entire franchise. Something like Stunfisk or Palpitoad are not nearly as bad as some Gen 1 fans will have you think. They're still refusing to deny Seal as a lazy name.
Taking a quick break from Pokemon, we have Spyro's little friend? Love interest? Neighbor? From Spyro, A Hero's Tale. A lot of Spyro fans despise this character, whether it be for being somewhat of a knockoff of Amy from Sonic, adding virtually nothing to the game whatsoever, or maybe they find her voice acting annoying, or I don't know, maybe they think, ew, girl's icky, or the color pink is scary. Last year, I was really excited to play through A Hero's Tale for the first time ever, and I want to find out exactly why fans hated this little dragon gal so much. What crimes did she commit? Then I discovered that this pink bitch only has a grand total of 40 seconds of screen time in the entire game. She talks to Spyro one time and then appears one more time at the end of the game. Or at least, I guess she does? I seriously don't even remember that ending bit when I played the game, but whatever. And even then, all of the other very brief interactions are completely optional. I was genuinely flabbergasted to discover this. And now I feel like Spyro fans belong in an insane asylum. I cannot fathom getting so worked up over a character who just stands there, it does literally nothing, and barely even interacts with you in any meaningful way. I do not get it, and I don't think I ever will. Simply fascinating. Keeping things in the world of disgusting femoids. How about Ashley Graham from Resident Evil 4? Talk about more bizarre hatred. Ashley serves a very important role in this absolutely incredible survival horror romp, and her character is handled extremely well. Gamers of 2005 were of a different breed. They didn't want any weak, defenseless women getting in the way of shooting zombies in the cock, but Ashley is much more than that. Not only does she provide an objective for Leon, considering his main mission is to rescue her and bring her to safety in the first place, she actually helps Leon in her own way, by doing things like activating switches amongst other things that Leon can't reach on his own. Dude would actually be fucked if it weren't for her being there on several occasions. And when she is captured, she does scream out to Leon for help, which did annoy some Chadly Chad gamers. I too can't believe that an 18-year-old girl with absolutely no combat experience needs help getting past these powerful and disgusting mutated abominations. Girls. Am I right, fellas? Can't do shit. They should stay in the Olive Garden kitchen. Make me some yummy nubby breadsticks, you slut. Some also didn't care for the fact that she essentially was the cause for an escort mission that lasted for pretty much the duration of the entire game. We all know how much gamers hate those, and they never ever work well ever. See critically panned PS2 epic fail game Eco for a real epic fail example. No one liked that one. But for real though, the game is excellent. It's beloved, even with the fact that you have to protect Ashley sometimes. Just shove her in a dumpster for a little bit while you fight some monsters, man. I don't think she's a real nuisance, and her character's a lot of fun, so you're all just hating to hate. Stop it.
Thinking back to Pokemon, how about another debatably annoying child? Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal, and their remakes Heart Gold and Soul Silver are some of the highest revered in the franchise. Johto has its problems, like the experience spread is pretty bad, so you'll find yourself a bit underleveled if you just play the game normally. The gyms are in a pretty odd order. You can go straight from the 4th to the 7th, but in all fairness, you can go crazy in Kanto with only 3 gym badges, but regardless, the Johto games are still the mass majority's favorites. There's one thing I think a lot of gamers back in the day complained about, especially when the Gym 2 remakes came out. Motherfucking Whitney. This young child, no older than 13, is the 3rd gym leader in the game. She's not in the gym when you go, as she's in the radio station filling out a quiz. Once you fill it out too, she'll go to the gym and you can battle her. There's 2 reasons people hate this battle. First of all, her team. A Clefairy that knows Encore, Double Slap, Mimic, and Metronome. Encore forces you to repeat the same move you just previously used. Double Slap hits 2 times. Mimic uses your own move against you. And then there's Metronome, a move that, when used, pulls any move from the entire game to use. Will she use a one-hit KO move like Fisher, or will she splash? It's hell for speedruns, I imagine. Her next party member is Miltank. It knows Stomp, Roll Out, Milk Drink, and Attract. Stomp is pretty powerful in the early game. Milk Drink is a healing move, meaning she doesn't need healing items. Attract is hell, as any male Pokemon you have are at risk of becoming completely useless. And the scariest move of them all, Roll Out. It might start out small, but this move can build to being tied for one of the strongest moves in the entire game if you let it. Every turn, it gains strength until everything you have is dead and your hopes of winning are foiled. If you can manage to get past these 2 hellish Pokemon, then you encounter the second reason why everyone hated her. She refuses to give you the gym badge, and instead cries about it. What is a person to do when the gym leader is a whiny brat who refuses to give you the badge? Of course, you can just walk away for a sec and she'll give it to you, but that doesn't mean that this isn't a bit annoying. So why is she in a video why we're saying you were gaslit to hate her? Well, simply put, she's an easy battle if you actually prepare for it. You can train a bit, get some moves in preparation, catch strong Pokemon that are immune to the infatuation or won't take as much damage from rollout, or if you want to make it quick, the devs gave you an easy out. Catch a Drowsy on Route 34 and take it to the guy in the shopping mall. He will give you a Machop, which can sweep through her entire team like a 10,000 degree knife through butter. When looking up examples for why people hate the Whitney battle, I found this comment on an old forum thread about it. Miltank is sexy. Miltank is sexy. Feel free to take that one out of context. Post it everywhere. Miltank is sexy. Winks at you seductively from across the audio. Wink, wink.
God, Milk Tank. She's so sexy and full of milk. Wait, are we recording? You know what's really sexy? Some of those recent Rabbids, like goddamn. Especially Rabbid Luigi. What a hunk. We absolutely had to bring up the Rabbids. These crazy little Rabbids became the bane of every Rayman fan's existence ever since the Nintendo Wii's launch way back in 2006. They were almost kinda like Minions before Minions existed. A horde of positively crazy heads who had little in the way of individual character traits, with a larger focus on their pure insanity and comedic gags that they pulled off as a group. The Rabbids were initially intended to be Rayman's new big bad to face off against in the unfortunately cancelled 3D platforming action-adventure, Rayman 4. While the Rabbids were certainly still strange and pretty goofy at this point, Ubisoft decided to take the game into a wildly different direction sometime during its development. When what ended up becoming Rayman Raving Rabbids finally hit store shelves, longtime Rayman fans were positively shocked by just how different this new title was. Ubisoft saw the writing on the wall when it came to taking advantage of the Wii's new wacky controllers, so in the end, they decided to turn the title into a purely party minigame experience. It's essentially the same shit Activision pulled off later by pretending Skylanders was a Spyro title. Pretty much an absolute lie. A hit in the balls for fans for sure. If Raving Rabbids is a Rayman game for simply having Rayman in it, then Facebook must be my grandma's house because she has an account there. Using a beloved franchise that people are begging for more of in an attempt to sell more copies to unknowing fans really freaking sucks. I can totally get why that pissed Rayman fans off so much. Regardless, the Rabbids franchise continues on to this day, and has proven to be extremely popular with tons of new titles, spanning more minigame compilations and a few other genres here and there. And we certainly can't forget about the TV show.
What's with this guy? What is he, a liberal?
Did the Rabbids ever deserve the pure, vitriolic hatred they've received over the years? Especially before Mario and Rabbids shocked everybody by just how freaking good it is. I just gotta say, no, they didn't. I saw nothing but burning hatred for the little dudes from fans, but critics actually praise their adventures more often than you might think. And I know video game critics aren't some kind of authority, really, but when you go back and actually try some of these Rabbids games, a good number of them are shockingly solid and fun. And while the Rabbids can get a little grating at times, the humor they bring to the table just hits too often for me to hate them. And even if you do find them kind of annoying, you get to abuse them and take your anger out on them all the time. Like, just look at this shit, it's the best! And Rayman fans got to breathe a sigh of relief when Rayman Origins and Legends finally came down to us from the heavens, and they ended up being excellent platforming adventures, and not a single Rabbid in sight. While I agree we could certainly use more Rayman these days, Ubisoft has at the very least ensured that his latest mainline outings did end up being high quality. The point is, the funny screaming rabbits were never the villain. All of that hate should have been directed towards the real villain that's kept Rayman away from your precious gamer fingers, Ubisoft. I know it's easier to get angry at a character you don't like than a shadowy corporation, but remember, they're the ones that call all the shots when it comes to what does and doesn't make it to store shelves. And Ubisoft already deserves criticism regardless because they suck ass, so leave the bunnies alone and yell at them instead. And in the meantime, why don't you enjoy some more obscure Rayman classics like, Rayman... Rayman Dick Tease and Rayman okay, this is just fucked up. You really wanted this guy back so badly? He should be locked up. I could really use a cool segue right now. Hello? Mal? I don't have my next segment ready yet. Help!
Ready. Turn the video off right now.
What's going on, huh?
The video is a failure. Close YouTube now.
Kept you waiting, huh? You're pretty good. Rennie, it's me. I've arrived on location. Oh my god. Does anyone have a water?
Hey, this is Solid Nut. Now you might be asking, why the hell is that your code name? And, you know, I agree, it's a terrible code name, but my evil twin's code name is even worse. Now let me tell you about a character who's been very unfairly treated by the internet over the years, and that would be Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2,
The Sons of Liberty!
Yeah, that. Now let's take a trip to 2002, shall we? The original Metal Gear Solid was already appreciated as a classic, and fans everywhere were excited to play as Solid Snake yet again in the anticipated sequel. But when players got their hands on the game, they found out they'd been baited, as Solid Snake is only playable for an hour or two, while the rest of the game's plot follows a new character, Foxhound's newest recruit, Raiden. And people hated it. You can find old forum threads online of people complaining and criticizing the game for this choice. It's kind of funny looking back on. So the question might be raised, why did people hate Raiden so much? Well, firstly, the obvious.
No, that is not Solid Snake.
Gamers were already expecting to play as Snake for the whole game, and not that I blame them, Konami even marketed the game with clips of the brief tanker segment Snake was in, fooling many gamers into thinking he was playable for the whole game. Secondly, some players found Raiden to be a whiny, annoying protagonist compared to the gruff but sarcastic personality Snake has. Well, I can somewhat understand this one. Raiden does talk a lot and, you know, to an unnecessary extent sometimes, and generally he is much less confident than Snake. But, I don't know, I personally find it more endearing than annoying. And the third reason is, people thought he was too feminine. Well, I guess early 2000s gamers had no taste because, holy shit, dude! No wonder the president groped him.
What are you... What the...
You're a man?
You know, not gonna lie, I kinda wish I was him. Oh.
What's wrong with you?
The backlash was so apparent that in Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, they added a feature that asks the player what their favorite MGS game is, and if they choose 2, the player starts off the opening cutscene wearing a Raiden mask. And there was even a character in Snake Eater specifically made to poke fun at Raiden, who wears a Speedo under his uniform and is implied to be Colonel Volgin's secret lover. What did Kojima mean by this? But I personally think Raiden is a very well written and compelling character, and most fans of the series today have come to appreciate him as a protagonist, especially with his arc from MGS2, MGS4, and the funny TikTok game. Seems the mission is complete now, so, this is Solid Nut.
Okay. Are we back? Hello? Oh yeah! Hey guys! Sorry about that, the channel got hacked for a minute by an unknown force or something. Oh, okay, this bit's pointless. I'll stop wasting your time. So you guys may be asking, what about the characters who actually deserve the hatred that they've received in the past? Well, boy oh boy, do I have a few good examples for you. Let's be clear that not every single classically hated character is completely unwarranted, at least in our opinions. Mr. Rossetti from Animal Crossing is an excellent example. He really is just an asshole. He constantly insults you and talks your ear off for way too long, simply because you forgot to save before turning your console off. He acts more like you just killed someone. Like, chill out, dude. I'm just a 6-year-old with my silly gaming cube. I barely even know how buttons work yet. He's an expert at wasting the player's time for no reason, and that just so happens to lead me to the stupid Zelda Ocarina of Time owl. What a waste of space this owl is. All of the hatred that Navi receives should honestly be redirected to this wretched bird. He's boring, adds nothing, and tricks the player into wasting more time by repeating tutorials because the player just desperately wants to play more Zelda, but no! This just has to swap the yes and no options to troll you. We hate this piece of shit and you should too. And then, there's Moneybags from Spyro the Dragon. He's a greedy and he's constantly getting in your way because he wants more of your hard-earned gems. He throws innocent creatures in prison for cash. He probably works for Satan. He's legit a monster. He has zero likable qualities whatsoever. He does serve his intended purpose in-game, but I highly doubt that most anyone would miss him if he was completely removed from the Spyro canon. Go invest in the stock market or something, you bitch. Let us collect our gems in peace.
Hey kids, it's time for Sonic's Stupid Friend Speed Round! Yeah!
We just have to start out with Omo Chow. So imagine Navi again, but it's Sonic this time. He's a cute little robot Chow who loves to assist the player by giving out little hints and tutorials. He's a helpful little fellow, and he's cute to boot. Honestly, I never really found his voice that annoying either. Most of the time, he's completely ignorable. The only exception is found in Sonic Heroes, in which there is one forced tutorial section where the game stops you to listen to his ramblings before proceeding. That sucks, but in his multiple appearances, this is literally the only time this has happened. At most, he's slightly annoying.
Hello, I'm Oddjob!
But you wouldn't know that when looking at fan content from the late 2000s and early 2010s. There are countless instances of wackadoo Sonic fans throwing him to his doom or beating him into a bloody, oily pulp for simply existing. There are multiple fan animations on sites like Newgrounds and other parodies depicting his terrible demise over absolutely nothing. I guarantee if you search for this funny robot that you'll find something horrible being done to him. Little bro just wants to help, let's give him a break.
Big the cat is fat and speaks silly.
Something's not right. We've always been friends for years. Sonic!
In order to 100% Sonic Adventure, you have to play these tricky and time-consuming fishing games, and aside from that, he's pretty useless in the entire franchise. He's often quoted as being a fat Play the clip, Rennie.
You might be thinking that I'm picking on a retard, but come on.
Why are y'all hating on my boy Chip? He's an adorable little guy. And spoiler alert, he's also the ultimate good who ends up helping Sonic save the world. The twist, in my opinion, is really fun. And Screw Attack were a bunch of haters. They hated fun.
This thing is one of the most powerful characters in the entire universe.
And that is the worst kind of hate there is.
Amy Rose is hated for being the cutesy girl who loves the main character. This is a pretty often disliked trope in media. Rennie spoke of Ember earlier. It's just like that. Her voice can be annoying. Look no further than Sonic Heroes.
Sonic, this time there's no meme.
But that isn't enough to want her dead.
Oh, Silver. It's not your fault that you debuted in an absolutely dogshit game that made YouTubers from the Golden Age shit themselves in fear.
Get off the wall, you slutty fat bitch!
He's a goofball and he cares so much for his friends and keeping others safe and doing what's right. It's so endearing and cute. Sure, in Sonic 06, his voice can be a little grating, but who cares really?
I see it!
It's really not his fault that the programmers didn't know how to keep
It's no use!
from repeating over and over and over again.
Speaking of Sonic 06, the evil fucked up game from hell that my evil arch nemesis twin made me play, or else the end of the world would come upon us all. Elise. Sure, it's weird that she kissed Sonic, but in her defense, he was dead or something like that. She's a boring character, and it's not like it's her fault for being stuck in the single most infamous game in the entire franchise.
If you hate Styx the Badger, shut up! You're wrong and stupid. She's awesome and hilarious and cute, and her voice is funny.
I knew you were coming.
She's peak, peak, peak. Speaking of Styx, if you hate her so much, why don't you go shove one up your—
Why do people hate Cream the Rabbit? Because she's a baby. Why do people hate Charmy the Bee? Because he's a baby. Say, speaking of Sonic characters, but not of babies, what about Sonic clones, or ripoffs as some would say? There's all sorts of them, like Awesome Possum, Rocky Rodent, High Seas Havoc, Jazz Jackrabbit, Punky Skunk, Socket the Duck, and to some people, Mr. Nuts. They all have a certain flavor to their gameplay and stylistic choice to be like Sonic in some way.
Awesome Possum is the first Genesis cartoon character who really talks to players, and he's got a lot to say.
Fuck you!
But there's one that pissed people off more than the others, and it might be because of the attitude chosen for him. He wasn't just cocky, he was downright annoying. This is Bubsy the Bobcat.
What could possibly go wrong?
As far as any person from the mid to late 2000s internet would have you know, this voice is the most annoying thing to ever be heard by human ears, and the catchphrase is just the worst. What could possibly go wrong? Well, gee, I don't know. Perhaps being a misunderstood and infamous video game character that now lives on as that one Sonic ripoff that has never been in a video game that doesn't make the average angry video game nerd clone want to vom, is what could have possibly gone wrong.
Gameplay is so generic. It's so excruciatingly dull.
What could possibly go wrong?
Back in the 80s and 90s, video game characters were getting cartoons left and right. Mega Man, Pac-Man, Mario.
Do you know someone that owns a gun?
Earthworm Jim, Donkey Kong, The Legend of Zelda, Street Fighter. There was a f***ing pole position cartoon. You know who also got one? Or two? Sonic. So naturally, this orange bastard needed one too. Bubsy doesn't deserve as much hate as he gets. He was built to be a bit grating, but not entirely unlikable. The original games on the SNES and Genesis aren't really as bad as you might think. In my opinion, if his games were just a little bit better, he'd be more liked, but since the games are all just fine at best, it doesn't help. Bubsy 3D was the final nail in the coffin. With how it just doesn't look like a finished game and the music is, well, odd, people would rather look at these games for 10 seconds or less and then laugh instead of giving them the old college try. Sure, it's not good, but it's entertaining. There's worse on the PS1. Rinny, add worse games on the PS1 on screen, thank you. See, after laying dormant for a whole 21 years with Bubsy 3D sending him 6 feet under, someone decided to get their hands dirty. In 2017, we got the Woolly Strike back, and in 2019, we got Paws on Fire. It's genuinely sad how empty these two newer Bubsy games look compared to the others. It's like someone dug up this Schrodinger's cat and forced it to play puppet. It's sad how there's little to no character in these games, like there was in the original ones. The OGs had a charm to them that's only notable once you realize just how massacred he was in the newer ones. These are soulless, which is worse than being a 5.6 out of 10 on IGN.
And that's pretty much all the characters we could think of today. To be clear, if you hate them for any legitimate reasons that your real gamer brain came up for yourself, that's totally fine. Just don't be a hater simply for the sake of hating. Don't be a loser. We could really use some more positivity in the world. How about you all start the positivity train by subscribing and giving this video a 5.5 stars. What do you think, Mel? Wow, what a great skit, Mel. Thanks for dying. Anyway, subscribe for more Birdo porn.